The Larry Kudlow Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I have adopted the view of General Jack Keane that Iran's capabilities, the military will destroy Iran's capabilities, with or without a deal. And the great Jack Keane, General Jack Keane, retired four-star, and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, and Fox News senior strategic analyst, and also recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I was in the room when he received it, is once again here to help us, as he has so wonderfully in the past month or so. General Keane, thank you, sir. We appreciate it very,
it's a lot to be here, Larry.
You're terrific. So, one of the big stories now in the media has just behaved abominably. Not all the media, but the so-called legacy media. The latest trope, General Keane, is that the Trump administration and the Pentagon have no real plan for the war. We're headed for a quagmire. We don't have clear goals. We don't know how to achieve them, and we don't know how to end this. I mean, it's really quite remarkable. What used to be a respected publication, The Economist magazine out of London, has a cover story that Iran is winning, which is quite remarkable. And I won't go through the others, New York Times, Washington Post, but they're very heavily biased against the war. The Pentagon has no plan, sir, and they had no clear missions. And I wanted you to talk to that because it just seems to me it's just utter nonsense. A lot of it, most of it, from people who have never served and or certainly never served in the higher echelons where the planning takes place. What do you make of all that, General?
Yeah, well, certainly I think it largely has to do with political partisan views as opposed to facts. I mean, what the administration and the Israelis went through after the 12-day war, when we set back their nuclear program and their ballistic missile program quite significantly, what we assessed in terms of where Iran was post-12-day war is they recommitted to all of their original goals. And quite frankly, they began to accelerate the development of their ballistic missile program, got Chinese assistance, began to build at an accelerated pace underground storage that would have a certain immunity from our bombs so more could survive. We estimate about half of their ballistic missile program did survive the 12-day war. The mission was never to eliminate all of it. And the same thing with drone development. After all, they are the number one-way drone developer in the world. The Shahed drones that are used so devastatingly on the civilian population in Ukraine comes from the very factory that Iran built in Russia. And that factory is producing those tens of thousands of drones a month. So they recommitted to do more of that. And then we noticed they knew that their nuclear sites, the three that we bombed, were set back significantly. So they began to develop at two additional sites and also to make certain that they recovered as much enriched uranium as possible. So, and on top of that, if that wasn't enough, they began to funnel money, not through the normal network that they use to get money, hundreds of millions of dollars here, to their proxies. They established a new network using different banks, so it would be much more difficult to trace, and largely through Istanbul is where they were pushing that money. So when you look back at that, they said Iran hasn't changed at all. They are increasing development of ballistic missiles, trying to recover their nuclear program, increasing their drone production, and funding their proxy. So they're going right back to where they started from. And then there were two other developments that really gave us some pause, and that is the increase in range in their ballistic missiles and the desire to build an intercontinental ballistic missile, knowing full well that North Korea has that technology and has proven that technology, and obviously Russia and China have it additionally. For our audience, if anybody's missing this, I mean, we're talking about ICBMs that can transition oceans. They only have one target on the other side of a major ocean, and that's the United States. So you put all that together, and the Prime Minister and the President, Larry, came together and said, we've got to do something about this. We cannot wait until they attack us with considerably more ballistic missiles and potentially ICBM, and wait till they develop another nuclear weapon. Not another, but develop the means to have a nuclear weapon. So all of that came together, and the conclusion was, and it was an appropriate one, the sooner we do this, the better. Because the longer we wait, every week, every month, they're going to have more means to retaliate against our bases and against Israel's population and their bases and our partners in the region. So the decision was made, let's go sooner. Let's make certain it's a comprehensive campaign to get this done. And then when it came to the objectives, I for the life of me, I don't think the objectives could be any more clear. Decision was made to not conduct a regime change. Nobody hid that. And number two, but to take away the offensive means that I just enumerated and make certain they don't have the capability to make major sustained attacks on Israel, U.S. bases, and our allies and partners in the region. That objective was about as clear as can be. And if you're on the military side of an objective, believe me, the IDF leadership, who I talk to on a regular basis, the CENTCOM commander, who I talk to almost daily, and the reality is they appreciated the specificity of those objectives. They were clear objectives for them, with a clear end state in mind, to take away their offensive capability and to make certain they cannot conduct sustained attacks, and certainly take away whatever nuclear development they're doing in terms of enrichment. If there's any centrifuges or cascades left, I'll leave it up to the intel analysts who know what that is to take all of that away. So, yes, that was what went into the decision. To the objectives for the military commanders are very clear. They have end states in mind here. What is their concern? The ambiguity that the regime stays in power. Well, the most that was ever said about the regime itself was that we can so devastate the regime and make them so fundamentally weaker, the combined force of Israel and the United States, that it is possible to set some conditions for an eventual regime collapse. No one predicting that was going to happen, making a statement that the collapse of the regime would be imminent based on what we did. No one made any suggestions to that. But the reality is there are defined objectives, and based on an incredible rationale and justification. Not to act would be an absolute reckless and immoral behavior. We had a moral imperative to make certain we were going to protect our bases and help Israel protect its citizens and its people and its way of life, and eventually protect the homeland of the United States. It couldn't be more clear, Larry, as far as I'm concerned.
Steve Witkoff came back from the last deal discussions before this war. This is late February. He and Jared Kushner, Witkoff, came back. In fact, he repeated that. He repeated this at the cabinet meeting that was televised yesterday. But point is, he said two things. He said, first of all, the Iranians told him that they had an inalienable right to enrich uranium. An inalienable right. We want to take that away. They think that's their right. Second, they bragged to him, and I don't remember the exact number, but it was something like 450 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium, and it only takes a week or 10 days to get that to 90%, which would qualify for a nuclear bomb, some kind of nuclear warhead. Now, Witkoff reported that over a month ago at the last meetings. He said it again at the televised cabinet meeting in the White House yesterday. I don't know what more evidence you need. It was kind of chilling just to listen to him recount that. Now, he didn't say anything about the current negotiations because we're not going to do that in front of the media. But that's what the past I'm going to guess the Iranians haven't really changed their mind Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to guess they really haven't changed their mind.
That is exactly the conclusion that two intelligence services made, the Mossad and the CIA, and two national leaders made, and Netanyahu and Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And not to act would have been irresponsible and reckless. And Steve, I wish he would just go one step further in those comments he makes. Yes, the Iranians told him that, but that doesn't mean anything because the Iranians are bold-faced liars about just about everything. But that has been validated by our both intelligence services, and that is a fact. We've established that those conditions in terms of large enrichments indeed exist in Iran. And believe me, that is on the menu of operations that we are conducting against the Iranians as a result of Epic Fury and Roaring Lion.
Well, I have adopted your view, which you said, I don't know, I think you started saying it a week or 10 days ago in one of our conversations. I have adopted the view that Iran's capabilities will be terminated by the military, with or without a deal. Our military doesn't need a deal. And the capabilities across the board, including Hormuz, including the enrichment, including the missiles, et cetera, et cetera. That's the deal because of our great military might. And I believe you have said from time to time that you have a lot of confidence in CENTCOM, what they're doing. And I believe it's Admiral Cooper. Is that the head of it, CENTCOM? So I've adopted that. And I just think whether it's this week or next week or the week after, they're going to get it done. And they know what they're doing. General Keane, you've got all these media outlets saying the Pentagon doesn't know how to conduct the war or finish the war. I just find that remarkable. Can you imagine World War II? That kind of treachery. It's remarkable that they're pulling this and writing this.
Yeah, well, I think they have an obvious prejudice here against.
Yeah.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Everything that the Trump administration tries to do, you watch it on the domestic side where that's not my lane, but, I'm an American citizen. I watch it, and it has the same kind of narrative and theme to it. Nothing is right. And that's what I find so disturbing about this, because I've never seen it. A protracted war that we've conducted over years, when you're dealing with insurgencies, by nature they're going to be protracted because they're hiding in among the people, and it takes a long time to sort through all that. And there's a sense that, well, it doesn't seem to be much progress. And while there was initial support for it, as time goes on, it becomes background noise to everybody. It has a numbing effect. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and doesn't seem to be a lot of progress. So that support for the war begins to evaporate. And I understand that, and I have toleration for it, frankly. But what we saw here, Larry, is immediately there was no support whatsoever. And after there were clear purpose and facts put in front of the American people, this is all about protecting Americans after they've been killing us for 47 years. And that protagonist, an aggressive opposition to the war, when all of our pilots and sailors and troops who are out there on those bases, 50,000 spread around the area, another 50, 60,000 easily brought into the area to conduct offensive and defensive operations. All of those troops are out there. And they're plugged into everything going on in the world. They all have iPhones. They all have iPads. And they see this opposition to what they're doing from the American people, from the media. That registers, believe me. And that's what I found so appalling about this. I mean, I understand arguing about a policy. I get that. But this is much deeper than the policy. This is even questioning the Pentagon's generalship, the Pentagon's ability to put a campaign together, the Pentagon's military effectiveness. And that's just dead wrong. And I totally disagree with the basic premise of doing something like that when our troops are engaged in combat, when by definition we said it was going to be limited. This was always about weeks, not months and years. And everybody in the entire chain of command understands that.
And the last one, we have a minute or so. People are saying the Pentagon didn't understand that Iran would choke off the Strait of Hormuz. It's like the Fifth Fleet never thought about this before? I mean, stupid stuff like that.
Well, yeah, that's an absurdity. When I was a division commander, 101st at Fort Campbell, a corps commander of 18th Airborne Corps at Fort Bragg, and a four-star general in the Pentagon, and this was a few decades ago, that was in our war plan. We've been dealing with Iran as a war plan since around the early 1980s when they began to kill us and blew up our two embassies in Lebanon and blew up our Marine barracks. We entered into war plans to take this regime down, and we've been exercising it for decades. And one of the weapons they always had, and it was obvious, is they'll attempt to shut down the Straits of Hormuz.
Yes.
And we have to have plans to secure the Straits of Hormuz and open it up. And believe me, Admiral Cooper, supported by the Israelis, have those plans, and it will be executed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anyway, General Jack Keane, Fox News Senior Strategic Analyst. Thank you, sir. As always, we appreciate your insights. Thank you very much for helping us.
Yeah, great talking to you, Larry, and your audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Larry Kudlow Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.